Hello there, my name is Sammy Hexter-Andrews and I'm a visual abstract artist based in the UK. These Wednesday Lives for me are about you finding a little bit more about me and my work, but also about where I get my inspiration and creativity from. So I thought the best way to do that was to introduce you to other creatives who have caught my attention with the work they're doing, and to highlight and put the spotlight on their work. And today we've got Richard Vining from Edge Motor Museum in Memphis, Tennessee, joining us. Hey, Richard, how are you?
Hello, good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. You know, we were just talking earlier before we started recording that I came to see you in May 2019 when we came to Memphis, and it wasn't by accident that we came to see you. It was on purpose because I knew about the museum, and I'm not sure if it had been open that long when we arrived.
No.
And so when we walked in, I just need to tell everyone I'm not a petrol head, know nothing about cars. But when we walked in, I was absolutely blown away by the shape and the color and the design of the cars and of the museum. It was like a visual smorgasbord of all the visual elements. And for me, it was just, oh my goodness, I need to stay here. I need to soak this up. And we were very lucky to have had a guided tour, I think by a chap called Bob. Was it Bob?
He's still here. Yes. Matter of fact, he's here today as well. Yes.
It was fabulous. He gave us a guided tour. He didn't rush us or anything, and he answered all our questions. We had a fabulous time. So with the museum, before we get to the museum, I'd just like to know a little bit about you, Rich, and a bit about your backstory and what brought you to creating such a fabulous museum.
Well, I've always had a love of cars since I was a little kid. And my mom, if she was sitting here, she would say she always had cars in her purse. And we'd go to the grocery store, and that was always a highlight for me because, you know, that little conveyor belt that moves when you put the food on and all that, she would give me two little cars, and I would put them on that conveyor belt and have them race against each other because the belt would move and the tires would turn, and that was so much fun. And I have always had just a love and fascination with cars. As I've grown up, that has stayed, but my focus on what kind of cars really grab me and speak to me has narrowed. My dad, he was an engineer and a programmer, and so he always had a fascination for the British and German cars and the engineering that went into them. Me, I always had just as a younger guy a affinity for the loud, obnoxious, wheel smoking, unbridled power of a car. The same thing that the British and the German cars look down on as just being wasteful and all that other stuff, but it completely embodies the era in which we were living in those 50s and 60s. When technology was doing this, design was doing that, and those cars just embody that. And that's what I've just kind of latched on to. You see, I wear these shirts, and this is, American Motors. I always have a heart for car companies that aren't here anymore. I don't want them to be forgotten because, the things that they achieved are what have driven the market even today with the cars that we have. And so we have a heart for them, and this lovely museum is a good home for them as well.
It's a beautiful museum.
I will say I got into, as you grow up, you can't keep playing with toy cars all the time. And so I had several jobs along the way. A lot of them were in nonprofit finance. And then I was also, through several sets of circumstances, I worked with estates and helped older folks maintain their independence longer by just, paying bills and things like that, and serving as a trustee, as an executor, and that sort of stuff. Well, guess what's in those? Lots of times, cars. And so that is where the current idea here kind of came from. It's a nonprofit auto museum located 600 feet from Sun Records. And some of these cars are in estates. Others are just on loan because people like to show them off. And it is a really, I would say, close to perfect amalgamation of the things I enjoy doing and have a passion for. And it's not just, hanging out and talking about the cars. We love doing that. But it's also making an exhibit like this and an organization like this flourish through just being well organized and well run. So I get to apply those skills along with the creative side, and that's it's unique. It's unique, and I love it.
I find the design of your museum is fabulous. You come in and there's two beautiful cars either side in the entrance hall. And when I was there, then you walk into the next bit and there is this beautiful sweeping ramp that goes all the way around, but runway, not ramp, a runway sweeping round, and it takes you down to the cars. What was your concept or your idea behind doing that? Was it was it from the beauty of the cars that you have, using their shapes and designs to give you that entrance feel? I mean, because it is just so different, and it's so very tactile as you walk around. You know, not the cars, but just the sweepingness of the runway down.
I like to tell this story because I love this design. I will also claim absolutely none of it. What you look at here is this museum is the result of what happens when you don't tell an architect or builder no. Yeah, I like I said, I'm an organizer. Okay, I've done programming, I've done accounting, and things like that. My original idea in this was basically having rows and columns and squares of cars that you could then, plot and go through. And I kept talking about to the architect design shop that we've won 2 awards, a state award and then a local small business award for the design of this place. That I wanted to display these things chronologically, and I wanted to tell a story. And so through this organizational facade I throw up, he saw a story. And so he did what anyone would do at a design firm. He created exactly what I had asked for. And he goes, "Do you like this? Do you agree?" I go, "Yes, this is great." And he goes, "Tell you what, I also came up with this design." And he and he presented it. And right away, it just blew me away, going, "Oh, we're doing this. This is so much better than my kind of soulless grid of organization that I have breathed into this piece of paper." Because what it basically, we display these cars chronologically, and what you're looking at behind me in this background, it's a clock, it's a wristwatch. And so, one car connects to the next, which helps tell the story of the next, which helps make the previous one make more sense. And it's in chronological order, and it's like a wristwatch. And it's lovely. And the other thing that you don't necessarily notice, except for you pointed out that the curves and the colors and all that just pop. That's because the architect was extremely intentional in not introducing any colors or materials that compete with the cars. Everything in here is either just a sterile white, but the carpet is an asphalt gray because it looks like a street. Our graphics, think of colors that exist on every car. You have amber taillights, and you have amber parking lights, and you have red brake lights. And so our graphics mesh with that. You have yellow street lines. That's on it. So that is one of our colors. And so there's not a single color introduced into this museum. It's not a car that competes with the cars. Everything is, it kind of puts its car in its natural environment, which is hard to do when you're indoors in a lovely facility. And so you don't have a bunch of, flashy other things to compete with what the car looks like. Even the lobby, when you walked in, all this curvy ceiling stuff, it looks like a chrome bumper, and it's painted kind of a chrome silver. And so worked really hard at that. And a lot of folks don't notice that. Artists like yourself do, but a lot of folks don't notice that. And that's intentional. And when we don't get our feelings hurt by that, I'm saying, okay, you're now more comfortable observing these cars as a result of that. And so I can't claim any of that. That is an architect that knows how to listen.
Absolutely.
And I just trusted them. And I can't imagine this place being any other way. I'm so glad we did that. Yeah, it is a lovely home for these cars. And you have to have a lot of trust for someone to want to put their car in here. It's easier today because it's filled with beautiful cars, and an owner can come in and say, well, this is obviously a nice place to put cars. But when we're first starting out, that was harder to do. And so a really nice facility, along with, like you said, you mentioned Bob, you remembered him, his credibility in the Memphis area for attracting vehicles helps a lot. And these cars look at home in here.
Yeah, when Bob was talking to us, there was nothing he didn't know. We every question we asked, he answered. And it's having people like that within your museum is such an asset. So as well as having those beautiful cars, to have people that are so full of knowledge and show such a passion like yourself in the work you're doing, it just makes you want to be there, makes you want to stay there longer. It's just amazing. I can't recommend people coming to see you enough.
Thank you.
Because like we said before, in Memphis, there is so much to look at. Where you need to go is to the Motor Museum. It is phenomenal. It really is. And the amount of information that you share and the way you share it, I can see like on your backdrop, all the information on the wall. I mean, people think, oh, that's a lot to read. But it's not, because it's like a story. And it is just fabulous. And you get more and more information. So by the time you get down to the cars, you're sort
ready.
of know what you're looking at.
You're ready. That's right. I'm prepared. Let's go. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I absolutely loved it.
Well, one of the things that we've improved since you were here, well, one, there's a center turner now. That's our feature car. But we had these iPad kiosks in front of each car that did historical, it was a story of how the car came to be. It's facts and figures and things like that. But it was also build photos, advertisements, how you presented the car to the public back then. And in a lot of cases, you can't present cars to the public like that anymore, because society has moved. But we want the car to be in its proper historical perspective. And so we put it in there. But I think the biggest advancement is that now everyone has one of these phones in their pockets now, right?
Yeah.
All that information we just give away for free. And we have it at edgemotormuseum.com. There's a button that you click that says cars. And any of the information you absorb while you're here, you can read whenever you want. So you can prepare for your trip even better, or if you just didn't have time to soak it all in, you can take it with you. And I just think that's fantastic, because it helps achieve our mission of, we want people to have a greater and deeper appreciation of these cars, so they'll want to preserve them. And what better way to do that than to educate as much as you can?
Absolutely. Absolutely. How do you go about choosing the cars you have on display?
Well, it has to fit in that focus of post-war to 74.
Yeah.
That plays nice with all the other attractions here in Memphis, and it helps them make sense. Something we're extremely proud of. And look, car museums are great and I love them. But in so many cases, cars go in there and they just sit, and they can't do that. Every car that comes on display here has to be able to run and drive, has to be able to do what the engineer and the builder, did. And if it doesn't, we can help the owner get their car to that point a little bit. We have a shop, and we have a tolerance to kind of help them, work with them. Say they've made some improvements to their cars over the years, we will help them get them back to where I say they should be originally. And so step one is the car has to be as it was when it was designed and built. That's probably the hardest part. Because sometimes someone thinks their car is original and it's not. And so that's the hardest part. Next, how does that car fit in our story? There are certain staples in there that the Corvettes and the Mustangs and the Camaros and that everyone expects to be in this story we call American Speed. I mean, but there's also lots of forgotten car companies along the way. When we did our unveiling here recently, that Kaiser Darren, that's incredibly significant in American early roadster history. And it's gone. And they only made 435 of them. And people kind of forget about it. And yet that car was, it's incredible. It predates the Corvette. And do we have a Corvette today if it wasn't for a car company like that? Maybe not. Maybe. The beautiful gold Glasper G2 behind me on my shoulder here. Love that car. It embodied, what America wanted in a sports car right after World War II, which was basically a European sports car. That's what we wanted. And so we try to find pieces that fit into that story that not necessarily everybody's heard of. We always have the staples, and they rotate in and out. And people, if they're coming to the history of American sports car, they need to see certain things. But it's awfully fun to sit there and go, well, I've never heard of an Avanti, or I've never heard of a Glasper or a Crosley or a Cunningham or and to increase appreciation for a car like that they never even heard of before. And to see the innovation that was in those cars that found its way to the cars they have heard of, that's a fun moment there.
So are you allowed into the workshop, or do your guys throw you out?
Since they're not our cars, we will do whatever the owner requires. Sometimes they just throw us the keys and say, hey, fire it up once a week, pick it up, turn the tires, keep good gas in it, make sure all the fluid gets splashed, pump the brakes, all that. Other folks, don't touch my car. And they'll come in and maintain and take care of the car themselves. We're good with either. And frankly, I understand both stances. I have a car in here, and I don't particularly like a lot of other people touching it. And I try to put myself in their shoes of, hey, would I just throw the keys to someone and say, hey, take good care of it? And no, but I will say the longer we're here, and we're getting close to year 3, you came here in May, we opened that April. So you were one of the first ones here. Our reputation and credibility has continued to go up. And as that happens, I think people give us a little more slack on what we're able to do with their cars. Also, we have a fabulous video system that they have access to, that they can come check in on their car anytime they want, or they can just come here and see them themselves. And so while that was a bigger obstacle at the beginning, here we are only 3 years in, and it seems to be an easier one to work with every month.
I imagine, possibly now even, people will be ringing you and saying, would you like to come and take a look at my car?
Yes. Sammy, we say no a lot, and that's hard because some people are extremely proud of their vehicle, and that's awesome. But if it's not a fit, or if it's not original and doesn't meet the standards that we're at, that doesn't mean that your car is worthless. It doesn't mean that I don't like your car. It just means it's not a fit for the very tight story that we're telling. We're a smaller museum as far as car museums go. I really like to say that we're more of an exhibit within the confines of a really big museum. Okay. Like an American speed exhibit that you would find in some huge museum elsewhere. But because we're a smaller exhibit, we have to defend the theme very, very tightly. We have a car in our storage facility right now. It's here on site. It's behind that ramp that you talked about.
Yeah.
That was super excited about. The owner had it here. We had it shipped. We went over it and found out it's not original. It's a beautiful car. It's just not original. And for us to mislead the folks that come here because they read our mission and what we're about and what we're trying to do, we can't do that. And to break that news to them it's the least fun thing that we do. And you want to say, hey, look, this is an awesome car. I love it. And I want to get out and drive in it and do all the things that it's designed to do. And this specific car is exactly the kind of things that this guy likes to go do, and roll tires and make smoke and that kind of stuff. It's just not to our standards. And I don't want to say that that's an arrogant thing that we have. The car doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. It does have to be as it was when it was designed and built.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's important because it's the integrity of the museum. And so if you start becoming a bit loose, then you sort of lose that premise. You lose what people are actually coming for. So it must be very hard to hear that this car that you have devoted your life to turns out not to be original as what you thought it was going to be.
Yes, and where it gets even more awkward is if they paid for originality, they thought it was an original car, and they paid a premium for that and just didn't do their homework. And when we did our homework, we find that's a double but the cars they're very personal to people, and that's part of the beauty, but it also makes it hard to work with folks sometimes on that. And so, but you know what, when you have a staff like we do that knows and appreciates and has a genuine care for these things. I know they're mechanical things, but it's they still have a heart for them. It's easier to hear, if you're the car owner, to know, okay, this isn't someone who's just being a jerk and trying to belittle my car so they can buy it for less money. No, this is someone who really wishes the car it was and will be willing to help me if I have the means and the tolerance to do so. Get it to where it needs to be.
Brilliant. That's fabulous. We were talking earlier also about the reveals that you do live on Instagram, and how actually, 9 times out of 10, my husband and I, we make sure that we can watch the live reveal, because the anticipation and the excitement that you build up as you're going to reveal this car is absolutely amazing. Do you have any more reveals coming up that you can talk about?
I believe we do. There is a car that's coming that is iconic. It's not incredibly rare, but it's in very good shape. It's an iconic, obnoxiously American car that we're still working on. And when we secure it, we'll have the car come in and we'll detail it and another awkward thing we do is that we do a condition report on the car, and so that the owner and the museum agree on what is the condition of the car. And so here we are walking around the car, documenting every little minor imperfection, and then turning around going, hey, thank you you're pointing out everything is wrong with the car. but in the name of, hey, okay, this is what it was when you brought it here. And so we'll document it, and we'll get the car stable, secure, do whatever we need to get it presentable for us, although this one won't require much. And then we'll put it under a silk, probably on that turner you see behind me, like we did the last one. And then we'll let it sit for a while. And the reason we do that is that we put a fishbowl out where you can guess what's under the silk. Okay. And that is something we just kind of stumbled across, where people are having fun with it. And it's grown into one of the more fun things where people will come down here just to guess what it is. And they put their guesses down, they put it in the bowl. You've seen me read those, and all you get's a hat or a t-shirt or something like that, but it doesn't matter. People like to guess, and it's fun. And one of the things I've noticed, Sammy, about this is it is human nature on display. You stand up top at the lobby and you look down, and you'll have a dozen people in here surrounded by this beautiful ring of cars, and they're all staring at the one thing they can't see, which is the car under the tarp. and I'm like, and say they're here for an hour. They'll spend 45 minutes looking at what's under the silk because it's the one thing they can't see. And I'm just going, what better visual representation of how we're knitted as human beings to see that I want to know what's under that tarp, even though I've got all this other spectacular stuff all around me.
I must encourage people to follow you on Instagram to get that live notification that you're going to do a reveal, because it is exciting. You feel the excitement.
You're not going to miss it, because we hype it up. We have a really good time. And even if you miss it live, we save them on there. You just click on the video button and we keep them all there. And I like to think we're getting a little better at it. And we've kind of invested in some technology. My video staff includes either my 12 or 15-year-old daughter, is how we run it. And we invested in one of those gimbal things. And so we're getting a little bit better at it. I myself am getting a little more comfortable doing it. I've always been incredibly excited about it, but there are certain cars, and the one we just did is one of them, that I am incredibly excited about as well. And so this one coming up, it's going to be very, very neat. And so I don't know exactly when we're going to do that. We will probably space it out, probably a little more early springish once we get the car in. But yeah, Edge
I
Motor
look
on
forward to
Instagram.
that.
And if you follow us there, you won't miss the unveiling. And even if you
It's
do,
definitely something to watch. It's quite an event, really. Just seeing your
thank you.
excitement is the event, to be honest.
And it's live, and we're not
Yeah.
going to go edit it or anything. So if it
Yeah.
goes all wrong, well, there you go. We're not gonna retake it. So
when you do your coffee and cars at the
yeah,
weekends, is that when people can bring their old
yeah.
cars along as well?
Cars and Coffee is a fun event because car shows are great, but car shows basically you pay a registration fee, and we do a wonderful car show in October, but you pay a registration fee, and then judges come and they give out awards, and it takes most of the day and all that, and they're great. But not everybody wants to do that. Maybe their car's a work in progress. Maybe they need help in finishing their car. Maybe I've only got an hour. Maybe they don't want to have to do a registration form. Maybe Cars and Coffee, we do it from 9 to noon, and we're not the only one. There's 3 of them here in Memphis, and there are thousands of them across the country. But the whole concept is you just your car, wherever it is, and wherever you are with it, come up, park, get out. And anytime during that window from 9 to noon, you're just with like-minded folks who also like cars. What that does is remove any intimidation you may have because my car's not perfect. And maybe it never will be. Or maybe it's not even a desirable car, but it's one I have a family personal connection to. And I need to talk about it because that helps. Maybe it was my dad's car. And I don't know what to do with it. But I can't sell it, and that's that sort of thing. And so you have these deep connections, and it's just folks come, park the car, have some coffee, have a nice time, get in their car, leave, and then we do it again in a month.
Have you ever found one of your cars that turn up to one of these Cars and Coffees that you thought, I would like to ask them in?
Not specifically a car that they brought the Cars and Coffee, but way more than once. A car that they say, well, you know what? I've got another one in the back at home that might be a fit for in here. That happens.
Wow.
That happens. We did a chop event where they brought a 1940 Mercury in our parking lot, and these welders and torch guys all came in, cut the roof, dropped it, and did all this hot rodding stuff. Awesome event. And the people that came to that event, we got one of the nicest cars we've ever had as a result out of that.
Wow.
Just because they came to the museum and saw what it was about and went, oh, well, I have something that fits this story. Cars are same thing. They come in here and they get warm if it's cold and look around and go, you know what? I've got a car that you might be interested in fitting in here. That happens. And so that's a fun way to find a car, because a lot of times people have these really nice cars. They don't talk about them much. They don't take them to shows. They just have them sit there and take care of them.
When you were saying earlier about you like to think of your museum as being an exhibit in a larger museum, in actual fact, you are in the museum and in the history of Memphis with everything that you've got around you. Like you said earlier, you sit really comfortably within that history and that time also. So people go to Sun Records, like you said, they go to Sun Records, then they come to you, they can match the cars to the era, and I suppose it's part of the tapestry of that time, that section in time that you've chosen to focus on within the history of Memphis during that time as well.
I've never thought of it that way. I really like that. Just we're within we're within just a larger museum in the whole city. Memphis is unique in that it does have such a wide range of things that happened all within the same time frame.
Yes.
And that I've never thought of it that way. I like that.
Okay, you can have that one.
Let me let that sit. Let me let that sit in there, because that's a that might shift or change a little bit how we try to market for the time that you have while you're here. One of the things we have our biggest challenge with is that someone comes to Memphis, you found us and you put us in your itinerary, but being, smaller, newer, 3 years old, merging into established itineraries when you come to Memphis has been a challenge. And so our proximity to, you're within walking distance of the hotels, you pass by us on your way to Sun, something you're already doing, but merging into those itineraries has been a hard thing for us to, get a foothold in.
Yeah.
Which is why we love it when folks like you just say, well, that's on my list of things to do. And that's been challenging, particularly with people who travel by bus. That bus has certain things it's going to do.
Right.
So I like that. It's very creative.
Right. I've got some quick questions for you, if that's all right. You still got time for me?
Sure. Oh, yeah. Oh, no,
okay.
no. I'm enjoying this.
Okay. If you can only drive one car for the rest of your life from your collection, which one would you pick?
57 Thunderbird.
Okay.
To me, it just it is a comfortable car, yet it's a high performing car, and I just have a fascination with its transmission. I'll leave it at that. It's a great car.
Do you have a name for your current car?
Yes. Here, just and the names are all based on personalities and things like that. If I can, well, my current car that I use every day, it's a giant Ford F-250 with a camper top on the back, and it's called the Lunar Rover, just because it can go anywhere on Earth, and it would work great on the moon as well. So that was usually it's like a nickname. It's not one you can give it. It has to be given myself. But the Lunar Rover is that just beast of a vehicle that I use as my daily driver. That is it. But this gold Corvette that's behind me, not the one on the Turner, but the one that's in the lineup. That one's name is Amber, and that's one of the most endearing names of a car we have here on display. Amber.
That's Philip's favorite car. That one. I said one day I'll buy it for him.
I like to call it's the most irresponsible thing that General Motors ever produced. It is so loud, so fast, so underbraked, and it's wonderful. There's a reason why we gave that car to the astronauts when they returned home. The 3 astronauts that came home, GM gave them 3 Corvettes, 69 Corvettes.
Brilliant. If you could eliminate one car from having ever been produced, what model would you pick and why? You have to get it off. No one's ever going to see it again.
Does it have to be a classic car, or can it just be any car ever?
Any car. You got to delete it from history. It's in your power, Richard.
The smart car. No. And I hope that doesn't step on any of your audience over there on that side of the pond. But no, I would like to put all of them. I could put all of them on a small barge probably, but I would like to put all of them and shove it across the Atlantic back to where they came. Yes, the smart car.
What would be the ultimate car for you to have in your collection?
For the museum or my own private collection, I would say
for the museum.
Oldsmobile F88.
Okay, you have to describe that one to me.
Just go look it up. It looks like an early Corvette. It looks it's low, it's sleek. The thing is moving when it's not. This is how rare it is, and I get to see a lot of really cool stuff. I've only seen one in my life ever. And it was behind ropes. I couldn't get within 10 feet of it. And it is just, you look at it and you can just see someone in the 50s, this is what their version of the future looked like.
Right. Yeah.
And
that's quite exciting actually to think of it that way, isn't it? Very exciting.
Well, because it didn't turn out that way.
No.
but Oldsmobile F88, I would put that on the center Turner, and that would be the greatest unveiling of all time. Love it.
What's coming up for you and the museum in 2022, Richard? What can we look forward to seeing?
Well, we have, we're really excited. We're on the Mississippi River, right? And we have 3 cruise lines that are coming here, 78 times in total this year. What's neat about a cruise line coming to town, it's Viking, and American Cruise, and American Steamboat Company. And what they do is they come down the river. They've either been up north or down south in New Orleans, like you were, or up north, up in Louisville, Cincinnati. They come to a port here in Memphis, and they get off. They're from everywhere. Mm. It's not just folks who are day drive or took a plane ticket, all that. They're from everywhere. And I think we have a map. I don't know if we had it when you were here. We didn't. No. We have a world map that when you come in, you get to put a pin in that map. And then there's a guest book where we ask questions like you did. What was your first car? What's the worst car you ever owned? What's the car you wish you still had? And lots of times it's the same 3. But that map, what I'm looking forward to most in 2022 is seeing just pens from all over happening again. The last year and a half, we've survived the best we can, as we all. But at best, they're people locally or they're folks within a day's drive. I'm looking forward to people who are from all over. And for people I'm having a hard time communicating with verbally, but we can still have a conversation about a car together by pointing out colors and curves and pictures and things like that, and communicating that way. I miss that. I miss you all coming over here and seeing this stuff and having an idea. So getting that travel piece back. I love everyone who comes through the door here having a nice time with this exhibit, but our international travelers that are coming here.
Yeah.
Bring it on. I miss y'all.
Excellent. Richard, I'd like to thank you so much for joining me today and to sharing your beautiful, beautiful car museum with everyone. I will put all the links in the video on when I post it up. And so everyone can find you, go online to find you at Instagram and at Facebook and your website. I'll put all those details up. But thank you so much for letting us come into your world today. I loved the museum when I came. I love talking to you today, and I can't wait to come back. So
looking forward to it. We do. We miss you guys coming on over here. My daughter was supposed to be over where you are. She's a ballerina and she didn't get to go. And so this sort of exchange that it needs to happen again. We need each other on both sides of this pond. So looking forward, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about this. I have a ton of fun with it, and it's neat to see someone engaged with it who, like you've put it, wasn't necessarily a petrol head, but still enjoyed it. That tells me that we're doing our job. And so thank you for encouraging us in that way.
No worries. Thank you so much, Richard. And I'll speak to you soon.
Right.
Bye-bye.